Friends, we're going to begin on page 22. Page 22. But don't worry if you think we're going to continue from 22. Don't worry, we're going to go back. We're going to go back to the beginning, but our first psalm song begins on page 22. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני. ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. צדיק כתמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה. שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים דרעננים יהיו. להגיד כי ישר לאדוני, צורי ולא עוולתה בו. Now we're going to turn to page 10. Page 10, Hine Matov. Sharing in the blessing that we are all here together, whether in person or over the internet. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבראכים גם יחד. 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 הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבראכים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And Chag Purim Sameach. Happy Purim. On this day, joy and frivolity rule the Jewish world. Adding levity to a very fraught world is just the release valve that so many of us need right now. There is something particularly profound about the rhythms of the Jewish calendar that allow for days of release and relief when we need it most. Last night we celebrated Queen Esther's bat mitzvah, which was a joyful opportunity to actually give the Queen Esther of the past an opportunity to have a bat mitzvah hosted by Rock the House with a photo booth and dancing and hora. It was really such a joyful time for our community to come together just for fun. And we need the fun. Indeed, in this national moment, Jews are contending with one another on issues of free speech and anti-Semitism and solidarity with other interfaith siblings and cousins. There is worry that compassion is giving way to stridencies that don't allow for the voices of others to come through. A reflection and a story. If you've ever been to an AIPAC policy conference, a pro-Israel gathering of tens of thousands of Zionist Jews, you know that there are often Jews and others protesting outside of the convention center doors with differing political views than the ones inside. Oh, these Jews, 2 Jews, 3 opinions, right? With this context, rabbi and musician Menachem Creditor tells a story of singing a song he wrote years ago for his daughter. It is called Olam Chesed Yibaneh. We will build this world from love. To Creditor, singing the song inside the convention center signaled the belief and conviction that Israel and its neighbors might one day find peace. Creditor tells a story that at the very same moment he was singing this Olam Chesed Yibaneh song, this song of building the world from love, inside the AIPAC gathering, surrounded by proud Zionists, he could see and hear protesters more critical of Israel's policies just outside the big convention doors singing the very same song. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. We should build this world from love. The lyrics were the same both inside and outside, but the lens through which each group viewed the world was different. Each person saw this song as a bridge to peace. For just a moment, both sides could envision a world of compromise, of coming together, a world of chesed. That story was told about 10 years ago. Today, differences feel more pronounced than ever. As a Jew, I will tell you that it has become a Herculean task to find a place of harmony when it feels like Jewish survival hangs in the balance. In our Mishkan or community, it is our goal to be a home for all peoples with a diversity of views, and your clergy strive to determine the times when we must counsel patience and when we must underscore what we stand for, our ironclad values. It's a balance. And ultimately, we know that our relationships with those different from us is critical in seeking tikkun olam, the repair of the world. So tonight, I'm proud to welcome the latest cohort of the Rekindle Fellowship. Rekindle's mission is to create meaningful social change by bringing emerging leaders from the Black and Jewish communities together for thoughtful and challenging dialogue and action. Welcome, Rekindle. If you're there, you can raise your hand or just say hello. We'll put you on the spot. It's great to have you with us. In fact, perhaps little known fact, the beauty of the Jewish community is that statistics reveal how upwards of 8% of American Jews identify as Black, Hispanic, and non-white. Brown Jews, Jews of color. One who is sitting right next to me. Indeed, our similarities are greater than our differences. And we hope that to all who are attending tonight from Rekindle, all who are here tonight, from wherever you find yourselves, find a place of love and connection. All right, we are going to continue with our candlelighting on page 2.
Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
I hope everyone takes in a deep breath of Shabbat, let it out. Try to separate this time from the previous week. So glad to be with you. I'm Rabbi Josh Caruso with my colleagues Cantor Vladimir Lapin and Rabbi Yael Dadun. Thanks for our music director, Alexander Marr. It's great to share Shabbat with each and every one of you. In your Sidurim, in your prayer books, we continue on page 95. Page 12, Psalm 95, Lechune Ranena.
Lechuneranena, 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 l'Adonai. Lechuneranena, 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 l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu nekadma fanav betoda. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu bizmirot naria lo. Lechuneranena, 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 l'Adonai. Lechuneranena, 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 l'Adonai. Lechuneranena, 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 l'Adonai. Lechuneranena, 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 l'Adonai. Our next prayer in our Kabbalat Shabbat is Ya'alo Sadai, which comes directly from Psalm 96. It is a song of praise that envisions the natural world bursting into song in the presence of divine. And if you look outside, today we almost hit, I think we hit 70 today, right? It was amazing. The words of our psalm say, "Let the fields exult and all that is in them, then all the trees in the forest will sing for joy." This verse reminds us that joy is not something we create, it's something that we tap into. It's something woven into the fabric of the world itself. It reminds us that even in the difficult times, the trees continue to sing, and the fields continue to rejoice. And so too can we. And so tonight we sing Ya'alo Sadai with a new melody from Nava Tehillah, which is a spiritual music collective from Jerusalem that brings fresh life to ancient words. And so I invite you to turn to page 14, and we're going to go 4 lines from the bottom. And my prayer is that may this music awaken our own voices, lifting us to joy and hope and connection. Ya'alo Sadai, v'chol asher bo Ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 Ya'alo Sadai, v'chol asher bo Ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar. Ya'alo Sadai, v'chol asher bo Ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 Ya'alo Sadai, v'chol asher bo Ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar. Join with me, Ya'alo Sadai, v'chol asher bo Ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 Ya'alo Sadai, v'chol asher bo Ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar, az yiranenu kol atzei yar. Ya'alo Sadai, v'chol asher bo Ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 Ya'alo Sadai, v'chol asher bo Ya'alo Sadai. Ay, 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 ay.
Beautiful. We continue on page 16 as we sing praise to Adonai with the lyre and the melodious song, with trumpets and the blast of the horn, raise a shout before Adonai, the ruler. Zamru.
זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור וכל זמרה, בחצוצרות וכל שופר. הריעו לפני המלך אדוני, ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה. נהרות ימחו חב יחד, הרים ירננו, לפני אדוני קיווה, לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים במי שערים. ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושבי בה. נהרות ימחו חב יחד, הרים ירננו, יחד הרים ירננו.
We turn to page 20 for Lecha Dodi, welcoming the Sabbath bride. It's a drama that we're about to encounter of welcoming the Sabbath bride into our lives, meeting the bride. It's a two-way street, and we do that. I love this line in verse 4 where it says, lift yourself up, shake off the dust. Hidnari me'afar kumi. What is the dust that you are shaking off from this past week? What do you prefer to leave behind so we can truly greet the Sabbath bride unfettered with blessing? We continue page 20, Lecha Dodi, and we will rise at the last stanza and welcome the Sabbath bride with our bodies as well.
איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 2 or verse 3? Verse 3, 5.
Third time.
התעוררי, כי בא אורך קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני שבת נקבלה. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה, איי 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 פני Shabbat nekabela. We greet the Sabbath bride with verse 9. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha uvetzola. Toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala. Let's get ready to shake the dust off. Yai lai lai lecha dodi, ay 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 likrat kala, ay 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 penei Shabbat nekabela, ay 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 lecha dodi, ay 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 likrat kala, ay 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 penei Shabbat nekabela.
It is Purim. I mean, we gotta celebrate here. Purim, yes. All right. All right, here we go. That's my exercise for today. Okay. If you're able, we ask that you remain standing as we turn to our call to worship, Baruch Hu, page 28.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
Top of 33. Let's join together. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We continue with Shema Yisrael, page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. Continue with Ve'ahavta, page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בעם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיהם
Adonai Elohechem.
אמת.
Top of 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. Let's join together. That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. That there is a better place, a promised land. That the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. That there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 40, Mi Chamocha.
Another new melody from Israel. Mi chamocha ba'elim, Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar, ba'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef ele, nora tehilot, osef ele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, ra'u venotecha, bokei hayam, lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Eli anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. מי כמוך באלים, אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה.
Thank you to Cantor Lappin and Rabbi Dadun for conceiving of this kind of Israeli spiced service with some compositions that were really created by indigenous Israelis.
It's all the spices from Persia from last night's party.
Yeah, a little spice too. So famously, the great thinker, philosopher, cultural Zionist Achad Ha'am said, more than the people, the Jewish people, have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. And indeed, no matter where we've been throughout this week, think about where life has taken you in this past week, the joys, the sorrows, that somehow we all circle back. We circle back to this moment, the rooting of Shabbat, of who we are as a people, a weekly holiday that we are able to celebrate and reconnect with, refuel, rejuvenate every week. Because Shabbat truly keeps us. We continue with Vishamru on page 44.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. One last time. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Step aerobics Shabbat, my favorite. Shabbat should be filled with movement of our soul, of our bodies, of our minds. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you to rise, and as I invite you to rise, please, if you haven't done so already, look to your neighbor, say Shabbat Shalom. If you don't know the person beside you, introduce yourself briefly, and then please join us. Please rise and join us on page 46 for the Amidah.
Yai lai 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 lai, 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 Adonai, sefatai tiftach, Ufi yagid tehilateha, O Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח הוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, חיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללו חסלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
At this time, we're going to take a moment for our personal tefillah, and when you're finished, you may be seated.
כשהלב בוהה, רק אלוהים שומע. הכאב עולה מתוך הנשמה. אדם נופל לפני שהוא שוקע, ותפילת קטנה הוטט הדממה. שמע ישראל אלוהי אתה כל החול. נתתי לי את נתת לי הכל. ביני דמעה הלב בוהה השקט, וכשהלב שותק הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוהי עכשיו אני לבד. חזק אותו אלוהי עשה שלא אפחד. הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח. עשה שיגמר כי לא נותר בי כוח. כשהלב בוהה הזמן עומד מלאת. האדם רואה את כל ההיב פתאום. אל הלא נודע הוא לא רוצה ללכת. ללא כף קורע סף תהום. שמע ישראל אלוהי אתה כל יכול נתת לי יד נתת לי הכל ביני דמעה הלב בוהה בשקט וכשהלב שותק הנשמה זועקת שמע ישראל אלוהי עכשיו אני לבד חזק אותו אלוהי עשה שלא אבחד הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח עשה שיגמר כי לא נותר בי כוח.
In this moment, we turn our hearts to those who are in need of healing, those who need spiritual healing, physical, mental, or even emotional. On this Shabbat, we take to our hearts Andy Abel, Sasha Aber, Adele Adler, Rose M. Allen, Eliana Amram, Arthur Beckerman, Lauren Berg, Justin Boyd, Judy Brookstein, Bonnie Chiswick, Angela Twang, Estrella Cohen Hudi, Ron Hudi, Amit Kott, Barry Kott, Sadie Faye Casmario, Gary Dorfman, Ella Dubrow, Babette Fable, Mary Freeman, Bodie Hayes Goldberg, Marilyn Goldfein, Aaron Gottlieb, Alan Granis, Nancy Granis, Adrian Greenwald, Kara Greenwald, Margie Hodis, David Isaacs, Tema Isser, Jennifer Jacobs, Liam Jacobs, Antoinette Karpinski, Eileen Katz, Susan Kaiser, Marina Kenny, Famida Khatun, Eugene Litvak, Susan Maxman, Richard Moore, Bob Needs, Angela Nickens, Jerron Nickens, Reverend Roger Osgood, Michael Pensner, Nancy Polk, Lauren Retning, Edith and Levi Rubenstein, Hadass Rudy, Lisa Rutherford, Bob Sanders, Linda Sandaus, Shelley Schloss, Linda Schneiderman, Steve Shanko, Shackno, Gail Shapiro, Ronnie Simkoff, Marcia Spiro, Barbara Steinfurst, Holden Ray Sussman, Terry Tettleman, Suzanne Tosh, Sally Wertheim, Isabel Wolf, Stephen Young, Norman Zach, Aharon Lev Ben Baruch Ve'adina Rachel, Elizabeth Yitzchak Chaim HaKohen Vezelda Jenny, Baruch Ben Shlomo, Chaim Ben Chana, David Ben Moses Vebluma, Ephraim Ben Naomi, Gavriel Ben Yael, Ilana Ora Bat Avraham Vesara, Mirel Bat Yukotiel Verochel, Mor Bat Dafna, Mordechai Ben Chenia, Noam Rafael Ben Tali, Reuven Ben Yita, Tzvi Advora Bat Selma Ita, Yosef Ben Yafa, Aviva Shulamit Bat Shoshana Ve'Israel Ber. At this time, if you are thinking of someone who is in need of healing, or if I have mispronounced any of the names, I invite you to say their names aloud as my gaze meets yours. At this time, I invite you to turn to page 253 and join us for the Mishaberach.
משברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We know that even in our points of difficulty and challenge, we also turn to moments of joy in the same breath. On this Shabbat, we have the wonderful blessing of wishing Abraham Gottfried a Mazal Tov on his bar mitzvah this weekend. Are you here? You're far away, and we're so happy from you. But they'll be watching. We're so happy you're watching. Mazel Tov, from strength to strength. What a beautiful new beginning. This is from Blaze. Thank you. Great news. This weekend is her Broadway buddy Stagecrafters theme show at Disney Lane Performance on March 16th. Mazel, Blaze. Mazel. We have so many wonderful things to celebrate. Sometimes it's just as wonderful as seeing the sunshine, and sometimes it's those greater moments. I feel like it is worthy of a shehechianu. We can take a moment to think of something we're grateful to be in the moment at this time.
Let's join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
Amen. Some of you know that I had the privilege, the great joy and fun of living in Manhattan for about a decade. And I lived in Manhattan in a post-9/11 world. And as I rode the subway from work to Hunter College, where I went to school, the infamous "see something, say something" signs lined inside of each subway car and on the train station. The hope was that if people would report anything that felt or looked suspicious, it would thwart possible threats to civilians. And as a young person living in New York City, I remember thinking, report something that feels suspicious in New York City. Okay. If you've ever been on the subway in New York City, it's a strange place with a collective of strange individuals. And I kind of remember laughing to myself, thinking there's a lot of strange things I would like to report on this subway car. But alas, I knew what they meant. And we know what suspicious or bad activity looks like. We feel it in our guts. We know something's wrong. Our insides kind of set out an alarm and lets us know. And yet, sometimes, even with those markers, those indications, we struggle to say something, even when we know it's wrong. Why is that? Author Brené Brown has studied vulnerability and empathy and communication. And in her book, Daring Greatly, she explains how the fear and hurting of others and the desire to maintain connections can lead individuals to suppress their true emotions. Fear can negatively impact someone's emotional expressions and communication in relationships. Even in relationships where we feel the safest, we hold back. The possibility of consequences and anticipation of that pushback that we might receive is more intimidating of an experience than just saying what's on our mind. And there's been considerable amount of research that suggests that many individuals struggle to express their true feelings due to concern about another person's feelings or reactions. In some ways, we've been programmed to prioritize harmony, or what may come across as harmony, over sharing our own experience. The fear of a potential consequence can be so intimidating that we end up with self-censorship. We dread the idea of entering into conflict more than the conflict itself. A study published by the Journal of Language and Social Psychology discusses how empathy plays a critical role in communication. Moreover, the fear of being judged or rejected can lead individuals to refrain from expressing their true feelings to avoid potential emotional harm to others. The fear itself is often the motivating factor, and so people choose to stay quiet over openness and honesty. At what point in our lives did we learn to prioritize the feelings of others before our own? We feel responsible for the other, but because we can mute ourselves, we place less value on our own voice and our own experience. In childhood, social developmental theory suggests that children initially form their self-concept by internalizing how others see them. A child craves approval from parents and teachers and peers, and this is normal and even necessary for learning social norms. When adults praise children for being good, often meaning quiet, helpful, or kind to others, children associate pleasing others with feeling valued. Developmental research confirms that as kids enter late into their childhood, peer approval becomes a key influence on self-worth. In fact, psychologists have identified an individual difference called need for approval, which measures how much a person bases their self-esteem on others' acceptance. In a study of 9 to 14-year-olds, researchers found that children who highly depend on peer approval experience trade-offs in their well-being. They may get self-esteem boosts when approved of, but feel anxiety or depression when they sense disapproval. This highlights how deeply kids can tie their emotional state to others' judgment, and we carry these experiences into our adulthood. In adulthood, other reasons for putting other people's opinions ahead of our own include other-centeredness, where individuals place others' interests ahead of their own to strengthen interpersonal relationships, a need to feel a sense of belonging, acceptance, validation, and avoid conflict or even potential rejection. Last night, as Rabbi Caruso alluded to earlier, we read Megillat Esther, Esther's Megillah. We know the dreadful plot, an indifferent king, Achashverosh, an evil advisor, Haman. Very good. Everybody was glad we're awake. And the Jewish heroes, of course, Mordechai and Esther, who fight in the face of tremendous fear. And the bad guy in the story is not just Haman. Rabbi Elliot Cosgrove contends that the most significant thing about Haman's message is not about what he says, but what he doesn't say. He never mentions that the people he wants to do away with are Jews. His objection is more of a political one in nature, not anti-Semitic. And because the king, Achashverosh, operates out of a willed ignorance and political expediency, he willingly gives the green light to destroy the Jews. Rabbi Cosgrove points out that as the news of the edict spread throughout the kingdom, we read that the city of Shushan was dumbfounded. Shushan's general population does not seem to bear Haman's Jew hatred, but it would take a rare form of courage for an everyday Persian to raise an objection, and Haman was probably counting on that. He understood that his hatred, combined with the king's enabling and a nation of bystanders, was all he needed to carry out his horrible plan. As the Megillah continues, Mordechai pushes Esther to beseech the king that the edict be overturned. Esther pushes back. In chapter 4, she says, "The king's people know that if any person, man or woman, enters the king's presence in the inner court without having been summoned, there is but one law for this person, that this person be put to death. Only if the king extends the golden scepter to say to him, may he enter and live. And I, she says, have not been summoned to visit the king for the last 30 days. And without hesitation, Esther doesn't even entertain the idea of going to see her husband, the king, on behalf of the Jewish people. So Mordecai sends back a somewhat forceful reply. Al tedami benafshech lehamilet bet hamelech michol hayehudim. Do not imagine that you of all Jews will escape with your life by being in the king's palace. And the Hebrew is really dark. It actually says, don't imagine in your deepest core, right, in your inner soul. Do not comfort yourself in thinking that you will escape. If you keep silent in this moment, he says, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another place, while you and your father's house will perish. And this powerful call to action comes from a very unusual place. It does not come from God, but the charge comes from another human being, from Mordecai. It adds gravity to the situation. Rabbi Cosgrove calls it making this moment relatable to readers facing a decisive juncture in Jewish history, as well as for all of us in such a time as ours. We too are in a pivotal and historic moment in our Jewish existence. With his words, Mordecai reminds her of her past, her ancestral roots. He reminds her, as he reminds all of us, that our fate is tied to that of all Jews, whether we like it or not. Whether we are chanting the same song inside or outside of a building, we are all tied together. Her identity will come out one way or another, and that history rests upon her shoulders, on our shoulders. Should she remain silent, the Jews will be saved through other means, but her dishonorable inaction will be remembered. I bet you guys didn't learn this in Hebrew school. Thought this was about a triangle cookie. For her time in history, Esther chooses to take action. She becomes the protagonist, the heroine of her story. And in a breach of protocol and with enormous risk, she does what she has to do, knowing that she may perish. She no longer keeps her identity nistar, meaning hidden. The name Esther comes from the word Hebrew nistar, meaning hiding. She comes out of the shadows as a Jew, and it is her public display of religious identity that will save them unapologetically, claiming their roots. And we are also in an Esther moment. We can glean so much from her experience and struggle and turn to this story to help us think about who we are today and how we want to shape our tomorrow and our children's tomorrow. She is willing to risk it all, even her own life. What are we willing to risk for the things or the people that we care about? Do we speak out enough as individuals, as a movement? Sometimes as a movement, we have a better track record of speaking out for others while being tremendously judgmental about ourselves. We forget that advocacy, all advocacies, must start with ourselves first, just as when we are on a flight and the flight attendant tells us to put our mask on first before we help the people beside us. Our traditions encourage individuals to advocate for themselves, both for their own well-being and in the broader context of justice. Whether standing up for personal rights or asking for help, the Torah and Jewish teachings provide guidance on the importance of self-advocacy while maintaining a sense of responsibility towards others. Self-advocacy is not just about asserting one's needs, but also about making choices that lead to personal growth and contribute to a just and meaningful life for those who we surround. Our Talmud further strengthened this idea by reminding us that there are those who change the entire world in one single moment. To live life, chai, to live life is to choose life, is to choose ourselves, to choose goodness in the face of adversity, to turn challenge into opportunity, hate into knowledge, to transform despair into growth, grief into memory, fear into inspiration, pain into action, and it starts on our inside. It starts with us as individuals, as Jews, as Americans, whatever your us is. Megillat Esther, the story of Esther, is unique in so many ways. The grammar, the style in which it's written, the time period that we think it's composed, and perhaps most poignantly, the fact that God's name does not appear once. And this is highly unusual for our tradition. And our sages understand that while God's name isn't named, God is still in the story, as God is in all of us, in our essence. If the print of the Megillah is in black, God is in the white spaces in between. God is in all of us, and we are created in God's image. Let us rise up in this moment of history and channel our inner Esthers and stand for the values that we want to protect. If we see something, say something. Shabbat shalom. This moment, I invite you to please rise as you are able for the Aleinu and join us on page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We continue on page 288. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. At this time, we remember those in our community who have died in the last 30 days in the period of Shiva, period of Shloshim. We remember Dolores Jean Davis, Marilyn Lowett, Janet Sukenik, Bonnie Mae Baskin, Rick Cohn, Marcia Mandel, Maxine Turner, Sharon R. Weiner, Rochelle H. Katz, Paula Platz, Sandra Gail Terran, Suzanne M. Zitelli, Ariel Bibas, Kfir Bibas, Shiri Bibas, Ann K. Brenner, Karen Bobkoff Katz, Stuart Klein, Oded Liefschitz, Charles Chuck, Abraham Ross, Ruth Wertheimer, And we remember those who died at this season in years past in the period of Yartzeit. For all of the names we're remembering tonight, you can look in the middle panels of your handout. And for those who have let us know that they'd like those names read tonight, I share them with you now. Jerry Cott, Irving Fine, Barry J. Friedman, Jack Friedlander, Adele First, Harrison First, Barton Gilbert, Faye Goldman, Sam Goodman, Joseph Greenberg, Phyllis Cabot, George M. Morris, Jerome Schleifer, Sylvia Alex Shaw, Edward L. Silver, Matthew Allen Walkoff. If you are here tonight remembering someone in your life who died at this season, years past or recently, we invite you to rise at your seats so we can know you in your grief. To this list, we add the names of the 6 million who perished in the Shoah, those Jews who died in the Holocaust. And we say Kaddish for all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. And we now invite you, as is our tradition here at Mishkan Or, to stand with our mourners. In this way, we physically show them our support as we continue with the Kaddish praise, 294. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulomei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemeda kodesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom b'mroma, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved, and we say together,
Amen.
may be seated.
Some announcements before we conclude our service. Just a reminder, after the concluding song, we're going to invite everyone to join us for Oneg, where we're going to begin with Kiddush and Motzi. It's a new tradition that we're experimenting with to offer Kiddush and Motzi out in the lobby with everybody. And so you can join us at the concluding of the final song. We have lots and lots of announcements. As you can see, if you have really good vision, you're not going to need glasses. But most of you probably do for all of the things that are happening here at Congregation Mishkan Or. But the one piece that I really want you to take a look at is the World Zionist Congress elections. We've got posters, we've got signs everywhere. It's happening now until May 4th. I got to help somebody vote today, and it was very special. And rabbis actually was thinking about this. There's this tradition that says that if you match if you match 3 couples, that you go to the Olam Haba. You get like a clean pass to go to the most amazing place. I feel like if I help 3 people vote, I'm going to Olam Haba too,
Done.
right? Yeah. So if anybody needs my help in voting, I'm happy to help you so I can get that ticket to paradise. Really a wide array of things happening. Torah study tomorrow at 9 a.m. We will have Rabbi Roger Klein here in the Hartzmark room in person and also via live stream. And also our Senior Rabbi Emeritus Richard Block will be leading a virtual session on Zoom only. For the link, please contact Cindy Wilson. You can put your eyes on all of these events. Go to our website, lots and lots of things going on. I want to thank you to our ushers today, Lorinda and John Messer, and anyone else who I missed. And Barb Smith, thank you always for your help representing our staff, our incredible staff that do just incredible things.
Amen. As we close our service this evening, we call upon the words of Shalom Aleichem, which is a Kabbalist 16th century poem that welcomes the angels into our homes on Shabbat, inviting them to give us blessing and peace, even as they depart after Shabbat. And on this Shabbat, we take to heart the version that Daniela Gilboa sang while she was being held hostage in Gaza. The horrors Daniela experienced while in captivity shook her to her core, including being forced to fake her own death on video to dishearten her family. She shares that to survive her most fearful moments, she often turned to tefillah, to prayer. She tells the story that when she could figure out that it was Shabbat during captivity, she sang the song that unified Jews all over the world, Shalom Aleichem. If Hamas heard her singing in Hebrew, she knew it would be her end. So for that reason, she learned how to sing the song in Arabic. So this evening, please join as we elevate our prayers that guide us in joyous time and also difficult moments. We will sing the first verse as Daniela sang it in captivity in Arabic and continue the Hebrew on page 323.
Salam aleikum, malakei hasalam, malakei efok, mi malik, malik yomeidi, lai, 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 lai. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Baruchuni leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Tzeitchem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Bimelech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu.
Shabbat Shalom. Please join us.
Olam chesed yibane, yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lai. 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 I will build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lai. And you must build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lai. And if we build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lai, then God will build this world from love, ya la lai 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 ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibane, ya la lai 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 ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibane, ya la lai 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 ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibane, ya la lai 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 ya la lai lai. Olam chesed yibane.